Oh, I can't see it.
So today's lesson is basically up here and not under the camera, and that's why I'm trying to get up here. Today's lesson is about negative numbers and the integers, including all the way from all the negative numbers through all the positive numbers. Anything on the number line. That's why I needed to be up here, is so that y'all can look at the number line up there. Now, I will admit, I realize, and I need you to know, that this number line keeps going forever that way, forever that way. Now, most of us, we're used to a teacher asking us about this end of the number line. This is a positive end. So if I were to ask you something like, is 10 bigger or 2 bigger? Y'all will know that which one's bigger? 10. So, even if I move down a little bit, and I say something like, is 5 bigger or 0 bigger? Which one's bigger? 5. Okay. In fact, before today, you even knew that if I wrote this, and I gave you the 3 symbols for the inequalities, meaning greater than, less than, or equal to, you know, if you told me that 5 is bigger, then which symbol should we choose? The first one, the second one, or the third one? The first one. We want to always, what I call, eat the bigger number. We want to do Pac-Man, alligator, whatever. Now, with that being said, the key is now, as 6th graders, we're working into the world of negative numbers. And the main thing I need you to realize is that, and I'm going to write it here, and when we do number lines, I kind of want you to write it on your paper, but everything down here is bigger. All the positives are bigger than everything down here, which is smaller. Okay? So, when doing problems or talking about negative numbers, what gets kids confused is, I might give you 2 numbers like this. I'll just put it in your attention. I might give you numbers like 12 and negative 2. Which one's bigger? 12. 12 is bigger than negative 2, right? Okay, to have $12 is better than to owe somebody $2. So, right there, you've already said, if I said 12 and negative 2, you said that 12 is bigger. The key is when I start flipping those things, so this is what I'm talking about. If I go down here and I talk about negative 12 and 2, so once you think about it, negative 12 is down here, 2 is way down here. Which one's bigger? 2. 2, right? It's in the positives. 2 is bigger. Notice, anything that way is going to be bigger. 2 is bigger. Now, what gets kids confused is this. Your eyeballs, the first thing they jump on is the number 12. And they go, oh, 12 is bigger. But negative 12 is smaller.
It's the same.
Okay? 12 and negative 12. I want you to think about this. If I have $12, is that the same as owing someone $12? No. Listen, think about your bank account. If you have $12 in your bank account, is that the same as owing someone $12? No. It's a totally different idea of holding $12 and throwing away $12. Okay? So they're not the same. They're not the same. Listen, all going this way down the number line. This is always smaller. If you go further that way, it's smaller. If you go further that way, it's bigger. Okay? So, what we're going to be doing today, we're going to be putting numbers on a number line, including the negative. We're going to be figuring out bigger or smaller. Okay? Questions like this. I want you to just kind of look for a second. Here we go. Don't say it out loud. Give everybody a chance. Okay, which one's bigger? You can say it. 4. Yeah. So we would want it to go that way, right? Okay. What if we had this? And this is where it kind of gets confusing. So which one is closer to my bigger side? 10. Negative 10 is bigger than negative 11. This is why, like, when it gets to these that are really close together and in the negatives, I really believe that for right now, you should look at a number line. Because look, if you're at negative 10 and negative 11, negative 10 is on the bigger side. Okay? It's better to owe someone $10 than it is to owe them $11. Does that make sense a little bit? It's kind of weird, but it makes sense. So, what I ask you to do, like if it's closer to the word bigger, like negative 10 is closer to the word bigger, then it's the bigger number. If it's closer to the word smaller, it's on this side, then I say that that one's smaller. Okay?
So if it's on like the positive side, you want the bigger number, but if it's on the negative, smaller.
Exactly. And your brain, as you grow up, it's like 6th grade hits, and your brain has to start realizing that just because you see a 20, if it's negative 20, it's smaller than going that way with the 20. And it's hard because your brain, the first thing they think is, ooh, 20 is bigger, but negative 20 is not. Negative 20 is smaller, okay? Now, what we're going to do from here is we're going to use the front page of this classwork as notes. Like, we're going to be filling it in. It's a good beginning to just seeing number lines. And then on the back side, we're going to work on some of this kind of stuff, okay, which is where we're trying to go with it. So, if you would, have a pencil out, and we will get going with that. I have no clue if I just showed up on the screen, but I'll figure that out later. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to use today's notes. This is our notes today. And it's starting out kind of slow and very easy with just numbers and number lines. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing they want us to do is write the missing numbers on the number line. So they're just wanting to see, can you fill in a number line? Now I realize this is very easy. What I'm going to do is kind of do this left side with you, and you kind of continue and also do the right side. Okay, here we go. So filling in the numbers on a number line. I always do the positive side first because I know my numbers. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I'm going to go down my negatives. Now, if you need to look at the one on the board, feel free. So you just fill them in. Like this one is at 0, so next would be negative 1, negative 4, negative 7. Okay. And then negative 6. Listen, this is easy. Now, will you just like do the last 4 here? I'm kind of leaving you hanging as those are your classwork homework right there. But you can go ahead and do them now. Okay, so moving to the next section. This is where we're going to list the integers by referring to the number line. Basically, they want you to look at this number line, and they want you to use it to answer these questions. So what integers are between 0 and 4? So if I put my finger at 0 and I put my finger at 4, what is between them? 1, 2, 3. Exactly. That's all you do is list the numbers or the integers that are between them. And you can use that number line. So I look at the next one. It says 3 and 6. If we're at 3 and 6, the two that are between them are 4 and 5. And I just list them. Just like that. Okay. Be careful when you get to the negatives. Listen, use your fingers if you need to. Negative 5 and negative 8. Negative 5, negative 8. What's between them?
Negative 7.
That's right. Negative 6 and 7. It doesn't matter which way you list them as long as you list both of them. And then between -3 and -7 is -4, -5, and -6. Good. I'm going to give you a second to try to get done with these three so they're not homework. Okay, so on the next part, now we're going to be graphing the integers, which is super easy. All you're going to do is, okay, these numbers are going to go on that graph. So they want you to graph -1 and 3. All you're going to do is put a dot or a point at -1 and a point at 3. Notice you want where this line crosses that line. Okay, now we're going to go up. -3 and 5. -3 and 5. The next one is -2 and 2. And this one is -8 and 7. Now, if you would, finish the next three, the last three there, so you don't have homework. On this next part, it's almost like a little puzzle. Now, what I would do is this, and I'm giving you a big hint here. I would draw a number line, and I'm giving you the hint of from -14 and I would go to the number 20, because without a number line, you cannot do what the directions say. What the directions want you to do is we're going to graph each described integer on the number line. These are those real-world questions like we had yesterday. And then we're going to figure out what word it spells. So I'm going to do my best to kind of fill this in, and I realize that we're going to have to kind of cram them in there. We're not there yet. I am just numbering the number line. And the problem is without this number line, you really can't do what it's telling us. And this is kind of what I've had to do in most classes. Just, I kind of got 10, put a few digits or a few little lines, and then put 20. Okay. So, the part that is confusing is this. Basically, this is the question. The 20, they want you to give me a real-world integer for the sentence of 20 feet above sea level. So what integer, just like yesterday, what integer represents 20 feet above sea level? Is it positive or negative though? Positive. So, positive 20 represents that sentence. Now, on my number line, positive 20 is down here. Does everybody agree? Okay. They want you to put this letter, the letter E, above positive 20. Put that letter, the letter E, above positive 20. It's okay. So like the second one says, a profit of $8. Is that a plus 8 or a minus 8? Profit. Plus 8. Profit is positive. Okay. So at plus 8 or positive 8, you're going to want to put a point right there. And then the letter is going to be the letter T. Because right here, here's the letter that goes with that sentence. Okay, one second. Okay, stop, guys. I need you to fill it in. I'm checking number lines and where letters are. Okay, so deposit of $15. If you deposit money, it is
Positive, yes, positive 15. Okay, so positive 15 needs to be at, one second, there we go, positive 15, there's your point, and we need the letter L. Okay, I'm going to give you a second to kind of finish doing those. Okay, and then we're going to do just a drop of the back in just a second. I'm going to give you a second to kind of finish those. I'm going to check it Monday just because probably run out of time, but have it Monday. We'll put that away. Okay. Now, on the back, well, here's the thing, and I'm really not, I need you to know, for some kids, this is easy. For some kids, especially when the numbers get real close, like the -10, -11, it does get confusing. So, this is what I would do, okay? Okay, so, here we go. Hopefully this is working, but when you get to the back, I would first take this number line, and since it's our first time really trying to figure these out, I would write that this end is bigger, because it's the positives, and maybe write that this end is smaller. You don't have to, but when they get really close, it does start to get a little confusing. Okay. Now, they already did number 1, so I'm going to go to number 2. They want you to use the less than, greater than, or the equal to sign. Okay. -1 and 0. So, what I do is this, if you need to. I put a finger at -1, I put a finger at 0. I usually ask myself which one's bigger. So, which one's closer to the word bigger? 0. And then whichever one is the bigger one is the one that I like to call it, I open the mouth or I eat, whatever, Pac-Man. Okay, so now like I'm going to this one, -1 and 1. If this is -1 and this is +1, which one's bigger? +1. So I'm going to get that one, okay? I'll do a few more with you. Which one's bigger, 5 or 4? 5. Please be doing these with me. Okay, good. And then 5 or -4? 5. And then -5 or 4? 4. Okay, now for homework, I'm going to let you finish this. You should have enough time in class, though.